Some trips don't end with souvenirs, they end in tragedy. From deadly photo ops to chilling misadventures, these are the worst, most shocking deaths in tourism history. And we have the evidence to prove it. These real-life stories will leave you speechless, and maybe even rethinking your next vacation. Stay tuned for 2 hours of the worst deaths in the history of tourism, with proof. It was November 9th, 2022, in Medellin, Colombia. Paul Nguyen, a 27-year-old Californian, was on vacation with a friend. Paul was adventurous and loved to travel. He was also known for his friendly and sociable nature. This trip was supposed to be another exciting adventure in his life, but it ended in tragedy. Paul was a logistics consultant and a digital nomad. He had chosen Medellin for its vibrant nightlife and friendly atmosphere for remote workers. He was also excited about an upcoming Bad Bunny concert. While in Medellin, he decided to try Tinder to meet new people. He matched with a woman named Evelyn Henao Herrera and agreed to meet her. On November 9th, Paul and Evelyn met at a bar in the El Poblado neighborhood, an area known for its trendy cafes and nightlife. Paul sent a Snapchat photo of Evelyn to his friends, captioning it with "The language barrier is unreal." That was the last time anyone heard from him. Around 2 a.m., Paul was seen leaving the bar with Evelyn. 2 hours later, his credit cards were used at various locations, including a pharmacy. A cashier at the pharmacy noted that the person using the card was not Asian. Concern grew when Paul didn't return to the Airbnb he shared with his friend. By morning, Paul's body was found near a dumpster in the Robledo neighborhood, about 5 miles from where he was last seen. Paul's sister, Amy Nguyen, was devastated. She described him as her protector and a constant source of support. Amy quickly set up a GoFundMe page to raise funds to bring Paul's body back home and cover funeral expenses. She wrote about the cruel and senseless nature of his death, expressing her grief and frustration. The GoFundMe raised $36,015, far exceeding the initial goal of $15,000. The investigation revealed that Paul had been drugged with clonazepam, a sedative, and robbed. Colombian authorities believe that Evelyn, along with 2 accomplices, Cesar Augusto Mendoza Lopez and Brian Taborda Herrera, were part of a gang targeting tourists through dating apps. This gang used tranquilizers to subdue their victims before robbing them. Paul's case wasn't unique. Medellin had seen a rise in similar crimes. Foreign tourists were often targeted through dating apps, drugged, and then robbed. Clonazepam and other benzodiazepines were commonly used because they were easy to obtain and highly effective in incapacitating victims. Amy Nguyen and her family worked tirelessly to seek justice for Paul. They hired a private investigator, Jorge Wilson, to assist in the investigation. Jorge explained that these crimes were usually carried out by small organized groups. He noted that synthetic drugs like clonazepam had become the drugs of choice for these gangs, as they were more predictable than traditional drugs like scopolamine. On April 4, 2023, Colombian authorities announced the arrest of Evelyn Henao Herrera and her accomplices. They were charged with aggravated homicide, robbery, and conspiracy. This arrest brought a small measure of relief to Paul's family. Amy expressed her hope for justice and thanked everyone who had supported their efforts. It was October 31, 2023, in Medellin, Colombia. Johnny Jerome, a 45-year-old American from New York, was found dead in his hotel room at the Provenza Lofts in the El Poblado neighborhood. He was in Medellin to celebrate his birthday with his cousin. But this joyous celebration turned into a tragic mystery. Johnny was born in 1978 to Pierre Jerome and Marie Blanc. He grew up attending private school and church regularly, developing a strong faith in God. A successful businessman and a gifted music producer, Johnny's career as a manager of operations showcased his leadership and tech-savvy skills. Despite climbing the corporate ladder to become an executive, his true passion lay in music. He was dedicated to building a business around his love for music, blending his talent and drive to create something remarkable. Johnny arrived in Medellin on October 29, 2023, just 2 days before his death. He was there to celebrate his birthday and had planned a night out with his cousin. On the evening of October 30th, they went out to a local nightclub to enjoy the nightlife. They partied until the early hours of October 31st. Around 3:30 a.m., Johnny and his cousin returned to their luxury suite at the Provenza Lofts, accompanied by 2 women they had met at the club. The women left around 5 a.m., and Johnny went to sleep while his cousin stayed up for a while, having a drink in the living room. When Johnny's cousin woke up several hours later, he found Johnny's lifeless body in the suite's jacuzzi. The water was overflowing and the scene was tragic. Johnny's cousin immediately sought help from the hotel staff, who tried to resuscitate him, but it was too late. Johnny was gone. The news of Johnny's death spread quickly. Lieutenant Colonel Eddie Sanchez of the Medellin Metropolitan Police confirmed that the case was under active investigation. He stated, "We are in a verification process. An interdisciplinary team is already working on it, and I cannot say more about the event." The authorities had a challenging task ahead as they tried to piece together what had happened that night. Preliminary reports suggested that Johnny had been celebrating his birthday and returned to his hotel room after a night of partying. The two women who had accompanied him and his cousin to the suite left early in the morning, and it was uncertain if they were connected to Johnny's death. The authorities were investigating the possibility of an overdose involving hallucinogenic substances combined with alcohol, as no apparent signs of violence were found on Johnny's body. Johnny's death left his family and friends devastated. He was a beloved son, brother, uncle, and friend who always cared deeply for those he loved. His absence created a blank space in their lives that could never be filled. The authorities continued their investigation, trying to uncover the truth behind his mysterious death. As the investigation unfolded, several questions remained unanswered. What exactly happened in the hours leading up to Johnny's death? Were the two women who accompanied him and his cousin involved? Was it a case of an accidental overdose, or was there something more sinister at play? The Provenza Lofts, where Johnny's body was found, is a luxury hotel in the El Poblado neighborhood, known for its business and commercial activities. The hotel staff cooperated fully with the authorities, providing them with any information that could help solve the case. They were as shocked as everyone else by the tragic event. Johnny's cousin, who was with him that night, was also a crucial part of the investigation. He provided his account of the night's events, detailing their activities and the people they encountered. The authorities were working tirelessly to verify his statements and find any inconsistencies or new leads. The possibility of an overdose was being closely examined. The authorities were looking into the substances found at the scene and any potential sources. They were also investigating whether Johnny had any pre-existing medical conditions that could have contributed to his death. Toxicology reports were awaited to provide more clarity on the substances in his system. While the investigation was ongoing, Johnny's family had to deal with the heartbreaking task of bringing his body back to the United States. They were in contact with the U.S. Embassy in Colombia, which was assisting them in the process. The family also had to prepare for his funeral, a painful event that no one had expected to happen so soon. Johnny's death on his birthday added a layer of tragedy to an already heartbreaking event. His family and friends were left with an overwhelming sense of loss and unanswered questions. They remembered him as a man full of life, with a passion for music and a deep love for his family.
7th, 2019, Ivan Ivanov, an esteemed agricultural expert, embarked on a business trip to Cape Town. After days of diligent work, Ivan spent that Saturday exploring Cape Town's breathtaking natural landscapes. Eager to experience the beauty of South Africa, he set out on a hike, unaware of the looming danger. Ivan hoped to make the most of his trip, but tragically, he never returned to safety. The simple hike that was meant to be a peaceful escape turned into a haunting nightmare, forever marking his final journey. At 44 years old, Ivan was a family man. His wife and kids, however, did not accompany him on his hike. On that fateful morning, Ivan set off alone, looking forward to enjoying the natural beauty of the East Fort hiking trail, Chapman's Peak Drive. The route is generally considered challenging, but famous for hiking, running, and walking. Those who want solitude can also enjoy the hike during the quieter times of the day. It is one of the most scenic hikes around Cape Town, so it's no surprise Ivan had chosen it as his destination for the day. Ivan carried some personal items: a BlackBerry cell phone, cash, a green cloak, a first aid kit, and some food, such as biltong and prunes. He also had a bottle of water and other small belongings. Unbeknownst to him, those few insignificant items would seal his fate. Ivan wasn't aware of the dangers lurking in the shadows of the trail. Earlier that day, just moments before Ivan started his hike, a couple walking their dog on the trail saw something that made them hide. They saw 3 armed men who looked like trouble. It is possible that hiding saved the couple's life, but Ivan Ivanov wasn't so lucky. Sinaem Poselwa, Matthew Guillot, and Franklin Isaacs were waiting in the shadows of the trail. The trio had a simple plan: They decided to ambush any hiker who came that way and rob them of their possessions. The three men had knives, which they were to use on any victim who resisted the robbery. And then, they found their perfect victim. Ivan Ivanov was enjoying his hike, still close to the parking lot. He was walking peacefully, even though his family had asked him to reconsider his decision to hike in South Africa, believing it was a dangerous place, especially for a tourist. But Ivan was a self-confident man. He wanted to spend the weekend hiking, especially since he liked Cape Town nature very much. As Ivan hiked, he walked past the bushes where Sinaye Mposelwa, Matthew Gio, and Franklin Isaacs hid. The men left their hiding spot and demanded Ivan give them his belongings. When Ivan refused, they struck. Their attack was brutal. Ivan was stabbed mercilessly 11 times in his back and chest. The three men then ran away, covered in Ivan's blood. The three men stole his belongings and fled the scene. The couple walking their dog and witnessing the attackers' erratic behavior were the first to raise the alarm. Authorities quickly arrived at the scene, but nothing could be done for Ivan Ivanov, who succumbed to his multiple penetrating wounds. Soon after, two men found Sinaye Mposelwa, one of the attackers, covered in blood. The men handed Mposelwa to the police. Mposelwa was linked to the crime when the blood on his clothes was found to be Ivan's. Even more, the man had some of Ivan's belongings on him. Sinaye Mposelwa admitted his role in the murder, although he refused to testify against his accomplices, citing threats from a prison gang. In August 2023, Mposelwa was sentenced to 25 years in prison for the murder and an additional 10 years for the aggravated robbery. The court showed leniency because of Mposelwa's difficult personal circumstances and because the man showed remorse. Matthew Gio and Franklin Isaacs, the other two attackers, have pleaded not guilty. The trial continues as Cape Town locals ask for increased measures to protect tourists and locals. August 3, 2023. Ka Hao Teo, a 40-year-old consultant trauma and orthopedic surgeon from the UK, was on a dream vacation with his wife, Sarah, his mother, Aina, and his young son, 2-year-old Hugo, in South Africa. The happy family spent that Thursday whale watching in Hermanus and viewing penguins at Betty's Bay. But what started as a beautiful day soon became a dark nightmare that changed their lives forever. After a fantastic day observing the natural wonders of South Africa, the Teo family set off back to Cape Town, but they came to a dead end when they got closer to the city. Directed by police, they were unwittingly led into the heart of a violent minibus taxi strike near the township of Nyanga. The driver, Ka Hao, was told to follow a white car ahead, and so he did, unaware that they were rushing towards an awful fate. The family noticed signs of unrest as they drove through the area. Car wheels were scattered everywhere, and pedestrians walked about uneasily. When they drove past a burnt-out bus, they knew something was wrong, but the bus was merely a sign of the terror to come. A man emerged from the crowd of protesters and approached their vehicle. It all happened so fast. The man didn't even stop as he pulled out his gun and fired, a single shot shattering the car's window and striking Ka Hao Teo in the head. Horrified, Ka Hao's mother, Aina, grabbed the steering wheel, desperately attempting to regain control of the Toyota RAV4. Some nearby locals rushed to the family's help, and together they managed to bring the car to a halt. Despite his wound, Ka Hao was still alive. Struggling to breathe, his family was terrified. A man, who had also been directed into Nyanga by the police, approached them. He told Sarah, Ka Hao's wife, that he'd seen the shooter and wanted to help, but he feared he'd be arrested. The man told Sarah to apply pressure on her husband's wound, hoping to buy him some time until help arrived. Except help never arrived, even though the family's car was now stopped near a police station. There were about 6 police officers at the scene, but according to Ka Hao's family, their attitude was baffling. The officers asked about what happened, but they did not move to help, as the family begged them to take Ka Hao to the hospital. According to the Teo family, the police officers stood around chatting as Ka Hao died slowly. The family pleaded with the police, fearing the worst. Sarah and Aina told them Ka Hao was a medic who saved lives, but this was not enough to make the officers agree to help. But with every passing minute, hope dwindled. An hour later, an ambulance finally arrived, but it was too late. Ka Hao Teo had died. According to his family, the police continued to fail them. They were merely instructed to visit the morgue the next day to identify Ka Hao's body, and then dismissed without further assistance. According to the family, the paramedics were the only ones who helped them and showed them empathy. The paramedics also contacted the British Embassy on the family's behalf. The South African Police Service acknowledged the family's right to file complaints, but refrained from addressing the allegations. No arrests have been made, and the family's plea for witnesses to come forward hangs in the air. Ka Hao Teo's death left a void not only in the hearts of his loved ones, but also in the medical community. His colleagues at Princess Alexandra Hospital in Harlow, Essex, remembered him as a dedicated and talented surgeon, a rising star in trauma and orthopedics. It was October 23, 2015, and John and Lynette Rogers, a newlywed couple from Hollywood, Northern Ireland, were on honeymoon in South Africa. The newlyweds were beyond happy. At that point, they had been together for 6 beautiful years, and their honeymoon was supposed to be something they would never forget. 6 days after their wedding, John and Lynette Rogers found their ends together, in death as they were in life. Both John and Lynette were adventurers. John was a part-time reservist corporal in the Territorial Army who worked for an office supply company in Belfast. Lynette was a physiotherapist who enjoyed new experiences. As such, she had even planned to go cage diving with sharks on her honeymoon, but she never got to do it. That Saturday, the couple had been exploring Robberg Beach, a stretch renowned for its beauty and dangerous waters. Robberg Beach, part of the Robberg Nature Reserve, offers breathtaking views and opportunities to see seals, dolphins, and even whales during migration season. However, the area is also known for its strong currents and unpredictable waves, making it a place where caution is always advised. John and Lynette were strong swimmers, so getting in the water was not unusual. As such, they ventured into the sea, unaware of the tricky conditions. The surf was rough, and powerful rip currents swirled beneath the surface, a hidden danger to even the strongest swimmers. But something went wrong that afternoon. Soon enough, at about 5:30 p.m. on October 23, 2015, the couple found themselves struggling against the relentless force of the ocean. Even more, there was nobody else on the beach. The couple fought for their lives, but they were no match to the force of the waves. They lost. By the time a local man discovered John's body in the shallow surf around 6 p.m., it was too late. The National Sea Rescue Institute, NSRI, responded swiftly, but their efforts to revive him were in vain. 2 women found Lynette's body about 600 feet away along the same beach. Doctors attempted frantically to perform CPR, but it was too late. Lynette and John Rogers were both pronounced dead at the scene, merely 6 days after their wedding. The news of their untimely deaths left their friends and family in a state of disbelief, struggling to comprehend how such a beautiful occasion had turned into an unthinkable, beyond cruel tragedy. If anything, Lynette and John's family were somewhat comforted by the fact that Lynette and John's bodies had been found and returned to them. Strong rip currents and rough sea conditions were likely the cause of the drowning, according to the NSRI. No foul play is suspected. The police have filed an inquest docket to investigate the specifics of the couple's tragic demise and ensure that every detail of the incident is thoroughly examined.
September 6, 1988, in Kenya's Masai Mara Game Reserve, Julie Ward, a 28-year-old British wildlife photographer from Bury St. Edmunds, Suffolk, had been traveling across Africa for 7 months, capturing the continent's stunning landscapes and wildlife. Julie planned to return to England within a week, but tragically she never made it home. On September 5th, while traveling through the reserve with her friend, Australian Dr. Glenn Burns, Julie's vehicle broke down. Dr. Burns left for Nairobi to get help while Julie stayed at the Mara Serena Lodge. The next morning, with her vehicle repaired, Julie headed to the Sand River camp to collect her camping equipment. Julie was never seen alive again. Concerned after days of silence, Julie's father, John Ward, flew to Kenya to find her. On September 13th, during his search, John discovered her vehicle in a gully near a river. Investigating further, he found her remains burned and dismembered near a fire. This discovery marked the beginning of John's decades-long quest for answers. Kenyan officials initially claimed Julie's death was caused by a lion attack or a lightning strike. However, John's investigation revealed something far more sinister. Her remains bore no animal marks, and her bones had been cut with a sharp blade. A British pathologist confirmed she had been dismembered with a machete and set on fire. John suspected foul play and believed there was an attempt to cover up the truth. Over the next 30 years, he spent over £2 million on his investigation, traveling to Kenya more than 100 times, speaking with witnesses and uncovering evidence. His findings pointed to Jonathan Moi, the son of then Kenyan President Daniel Arap Moi. According to John, a witness claimed Jonathan Moi and his associates encountered Julie while she was taking photographs near the lodge. The group allegedly attacked her, and her remains were destroyed to hide the crime. Despite compelling evidence, no charges were brought against Moi or his associates. 2 park rangers were initially charged with Julie's death, but they were acquitted in 1992 due to insufficient evidence. A second investigation led to the arrest of Simon Ola Makala, a former chief park ranger, in 1997. However, he too was acquitted in 1999. John Ward maintained that these men were scapegoats and that powerful individuals within the Kenyan government were involved in a cover-up. Over the years, John collaborated with British authorities and sought assistance from MI6, hoping to hold those responsible accountable. In 2004, a British inquest ruled that Julie had been unlawfully killed. The inquest criticized the Kenyan government for mishandling the case and obstructing justice. While the verdict acknowledged John's tireless efforts, it brought no closer resolution to the case. Despite the lack of justice, John continued his mission. He published a book in 1991 titled "The Animals Are Innocent: The Search for Julie's Killers," detailing his investigation. John believed the Kenyan government suppressed evidence to protect its reputation in the country's tourism industry. In 2019, Jonathan Moy passed away, leaving many questions unanswered. John Ward's pursuit of justice persisted until he died in 2023, just weeks after his wife's passing. Before his death, John's sons, Bob and Tim Ward, vowed to continue their father's mission. They planned to publish another book and release a documentary to keep Julie's story alive. The Ward family remains determined to uncover the truth. Bob reflected on his father's dedication, describing him as meticulous and deeply committed to finding justice. While their lives were forever changed by Julie's death, the family has learned to persevere while honoring her memory. To this day, the mystery of Julie Ward's death remains unsolved. The Kenyan government and British authorities have faced accusations of corruption and cover-ups, leaving the Ward family to carry on their search for answers. Julie's story serves as a reminder of the challenges faced by families seeking justice against powerful forces. The unresolved case leaves haunting questions. Could Julie's death have been prevented? Was more evidence suppressed? Would justice have been served if the suspects had faced trial? These uncertainties continue to weigh on the Ward family as they strive to preserve Julie's legacy and uncover the truth behind her tragic death. It was September the 15th, 2024, in Naples, Italy. Chiara Giaconis, a 30-year-old manager for Prada, was celebrating her birthday with her boyfriend, Livio Rousseau. Originally from Padua, Chiara had achieved her dream career in luxury fashion, managing 15 stores across the France-Monaco-Belgium region. Living in Paris, she had worked with brands like Moncler, Givenchy, and Christian Louboutin. The couple's Naples trip marked a special milestone, and they were wrapping up their vacation with a stroll through the Spanish quarters before heading to Capodichino Airport for their flight home that evening. As they walked the narrow streets, Chiara carried a backpack and bag, while Livio handled their luggage on a trolley. It seemed like an ordinary afternoon in one of Naples' busiest neighborhoods. But as they passed under a building on Via Sant'Anna di Palazzo, tragedy struck. From the third floor of the building above, a heavy decorative statue fell suddenly. The 2-kilogram piece, depicting an ancient pagan deity, came crashing down without warning. It struck Chiara directly on the head, causing her to collapse instantly. Surveillance footage captured the horrifying moment. Livio froze briefly before rushing to her side, kneeling by her motionless body, calling out her name in disbelief. In his panic, he attempted to roll her onto her back while desperately shouting for help. Another man soon joined him, trying to assist as Livio waved for attention. Despite their efforts, the damage was already done. Onlookers quickly gathered, and emergency services arrived to rush Chiara to Vecchio Pellegrini Hospital. She was later transferred to Ospedale del Mare, but despite medical intervention, Chiara passed away on September 17th due to severe head injuries. The news of her death devastated her loved ones and shocked her community. Known for her determination and success in the competitive world of fashion, Chiara was admired for her ambition and talent. Her sudden loss was felt deeply by family, friends, and colleagues alike. Local authorities launched an investigation into how the statue had fallen. Initial reports suggested that it might not have been accidental. Investigators believed the object may have been dropped or thrown from the balcony, possibly by children inside the apartment. Police worked with the Naples prosecutor's office, opening a case for involuntary manslaughter and interviewing the apartment's occupants. It was discovered that multiple people, including minors, had been in the apartment at the time. Authorities were still determining whether the fall was due to negligence or a deliberate act. While the possibility of a tragic accident remained, investigators focused on the responsibility of the building's occupants and maintenance issues. Chiara's father, Gianfranco Giaconis, a respected condominium administrator in Padua, publicly thanked the doctors who had fought to save his daughter's life. Despite his immense grief, he acknowledged their professionalism and compassion during the ordeal. In the days following her passing, the Spanish quarters became a place of mourning. Residents, tourists, and officials gathered for a candlelight vigil in Chiara's memory. The mayor of Naples, Gaetano Manfredi, expressed his condolences to her family, calling the incident a great sorrow. Veneto's governor, Luca Zaia, also shared his grief, reflecting on how everyone had hoped for her safe return home. Chiara's tragic death raised serious concerns about public safety and the condition of Naples's historic buildings. The city, celebrated for its beauty and history, now faced scrutiny over its maintenance standards. While authorities continued their investigation, the family was left to grieve the loss of a young woman with a bright future. Chiara had been living her dream in the world of luxury fashion, a career built on years of hard work and dedication. Her sudden passing left a mark on all who knew her. Although questions remain about what caused the statue to fall, one fact is certain. This preventable tragedy took the life of someone deeply loved and full of promise. May 12, 2023, on Chacahua Island in Oaxaca, Mexico. The island, known for its peaceful beaches and welcoming atmosphere, had always been a favorite among travelers. But on this day, something tragic happened that no one could have expected. Benjamin Gamond, a 23-year-old from Cordoba, Argentina, was traveling through Mexico with his two friends, Santiago Lastra, 22, and Macarena Gonzalez, 29. The group had recently been in Tulum before arriving on the island just a day earlier, excited to explore the area. That afternoon, they finished their meal at a beachside restaurant, completely unaware that danger was moments away. As they were leaving, a man suddenly attacked them. He was later identified as 21-year-old Irving Martinez Flores. He carried a machete, a common tool in the area, but this time it was used as a weapon. Without warning, he struck Benjamin in the head and face with extreme force. Santiago and Macarena, in shock, rushed to help their friend. In the struggle, both were injured. Santiago suffered a fractured hand, while Macarena received deep wounds on her back. Despite their injuries, they managed to escape with their lives. But Benjamin, who had suffered severe head trauma, was in critical condition. Emergency responders arrived quickly, rushing Benjamin to a nearby hospital. However, his injuries were too severe for local treatment, and he was airlifted to Mexico City. Doctors did everything they could, but 3 days later, on May 15th, Benjamin passed away. The attack left the Chacahua community in shock. The island had always been known as a safe place, where locals and visitors felt comfortable, even leaving their doors unlocked at night. No one could understand how such an act of violence had happened there. Authorities soon arrested Martinez. Strangely, he had met the group the day before on the same boat to the island. He introduced himself as a surf instructor and seemed friendly. The next day, when Benjamin asked about renting surfboards, something changed. Witnesses recalled Martinez staring at Benjamin with hostility, as if he didn't recognize him. Then, without explanation, he attacked. Witnesses heard him shouting strange phrases, seemingly accusing others of being sent after him. His words made no sense, and his motive remained unclear. Benjamin's family and friends were devastated. He was well loved in his hometown and known for his kind and adventurous spirit. He had traveled to Mexico not just to explore but also to work as a waiter, something he had done before. He dreamed of experiencing different cultures and places. But that dream was tragically cut short. As news of his passing spread, tributes poured in. His older brother Facundo traveled to Mexico to be by his side in his final moments and expressed his grief, honoring him as a hero. Benjamin's rugby club, Tala Rugby, also shared their sorrow and support for his family. For Macarena and Santiago, the experience changed their lives forever. They had fought to protect their friend, suffered injuries, and witnessed something they would never forget. Macarena's father later revealed that she had thrown herself at the attacker to stop him, risking her own life. She managed to escape and run for help, but by then, the damage had been done. Authorities in Oaxaca took over the investigation. Martinez was charged with aggravated homicide. Police confirmed that he had no known ties to the Chacahua community and had arrived on the island looking for work. Some reports suggested his erratic behavior may have been influenced by substance use, but the exact reason for the attack remains unknown. The case gained media attention, raising concerns about tourist safety in Mexico. Many questioned how such an unprovoked attack could happen in a place known for its peaceful atmosphere. Despite their grief, the Gammon family honored Benjamin's final wish. Before his passing, he had expressed a desire to help others through organ donation. In a final act of generosity, his family agreed to donate 7 of his organs, giving others a second chance at life. Benjamin's story is heartbreaking. He was a young man full of dreams, kindness, and adventure. His death left a lasting impact on those who knew him, and his loved ones are left wondering, what if he had never met Martinez? What if he had chosen a different place to visit? Would this have been avoided? While those questions may never be answered, his memory lives on. He is remembered not just for his tragic end, but for his kindness, his adventurous spirit, and the lives he helped save even after he was gone. It was November 6, 2024, in the mountainous region of Uzbekistan when a landslide caused a tragic accident, claiming 3 lives, including 2 Hungarian tourists. The incident occurred on the Kitob-Samarkand road near the Taktakaracha Pass, a route known for its breathtaking views but also its unpredictable dangers. On that day, a group of travelers was navigating this rugged road, which cuts through Uzbekistan's Kashkadarya province. Among them were 2 Hungarian tourists traveling in a Chevrolet Cobalt. The road, surrounded by towering cliffs and steep drops, is notorious for being challenging due to unstable weather and shifting terrain. Despite the risks, no one anticipated the disaster that would unfold. Without warning, a large boulder, loosened by unstable earth, crashed onto the road. The massive rock struck the Chevrolet Cobalt with devastating force, crushing the vehicle completely. The impact left no chance of survival for those inside. Rescue teams arrived promptly, but the scene was grim. The vehicle was destroyed beyond recognition and 3 people lost their lives instantly, 2 Hungarian tourists and their Uzbek driver. Authorities later identified the victims, and the Hungarian embassy in Uzbekistan expressed condolences to the grieving families, assuring them that arrangements would be made to return the victims' remains to Hungary. Following the tragedy, the Uzbek government launched an investigation to determine the cause of the landslide. Experts examined the site, looking into whether recent weather patterns or the region's natural instability played a role. This was not the first landslide in the Taktakaracha Pass, which is prone to rockfalls due to its unstable geological conditions. Despite its scenic beauty, the pass has long been considered dangerous. For the Hungarian tourists, their trip to Uzbekistan was meant to be an adventure. Instead, their lives were cut short unexpectedly, leaving their families to cope with an unimaginable loss. Local officials urged travelers to remain cautious when driving on mountainous roads, emphasizing that nature is often unpredictable and some dangers cannot be foreseen. The victims were simply in the wrong place at the wrong time, with no way to avoid the disaster. The immense power of nature changed their fate in a matter of seconds. As the investigation continued, experts studied the area's geological activity, noting how the region's shifting earth made it difficult to predict future landslides. Authorities began discussions about improving safety measures to reduce the risks for future travelers. The Uzbek embassy in Hungary also addressed the incident, emphasizing how rare but unpredictable such natural events are. They reiterated that geological changes can happen without warning, reminding people of the ever-changing nature of the Earth. Many questions about the tragedy remain unanswered. Could a different route or a smaller landslide have changed the outcome? Unfortunately, such questions can never truly be resolved. A passerby captured video footage of the aftermath, showing the crushed car and blocked road. Although the actual moment of impact wasn't recorded, the destruction made it clear just how powerful the landslide had been. Local authorities are now considering ways to improve safety on the Taktakaracha Pass, which has long been known to locals as a hazardous area. Travelers unfamiliar with the region often remain unaware of the risks, which has prompted discussions about implementing better warnings or protective measures to prevent similar tragedies in the future. The loss of 3 lives deeply affected not only their families, but also the local community. Those familiar with the region understand its dangers, but for the victims, this knowledge came too late. This tragic incident is a reminder of how unpredictable and uncontrollable nature can be, turning an ordinary day into a life-altering event in an instant. On October 16, 2024, Nilesh Mukhi, a 59-year-old man from Kolkata, India, was on vacation in Bali with his wife Kavita. They had traveled to Nusa Penida, a small island famous for its stunning scenery and breathtaking beaches. That day, they visited Angel's Billabong, a natural infinity pool surrounded by cliffs. The site was popular among tourists looking for picturesque views, but it also had a dangerous reputation. While beautiful, Angel's Billabong was known for its unpredictable waves. Locals often warned visitors about the strong currents, calling it a dangerous spot. Large waves could suddenly crash against the cliffs, posing serious risks to anyone standing too close to the edge. Unaware of the danger, Nilesh and Kavita posed for photos near the cliffside. The full moon that night had caused the tide to be unusually high, making the waters even more dangerous. As they took pictures, their driver, who had been assisting them, noticed how close they were to the edge. Concerned, he warned them to step back. But before they could react, a massive wave hit the cliff with tremendous force, knocking Nilesh into the sea. Kavita was also pulled in but managed to survive with minor injuries. Despite efforts to reach him, Nilesh was swept away by the strong currents. Authorities were alerted immediately. The Indonesian Navy and local police launched a search operation, scouring the waters near Angel's Billabong. Sadly, the following day, Nilesh's body was found floating near Nusa Dua, approximately 12 miles from where he had fallen. It was a heartbreaking outcome for his family and the travel community, where he was a respected professional. This tragedy was not the first at Angel's Billabong. The area has claimed several lives over the years. In 2018, a Chinese tourist was swept away while attempting to take a selfie. In 2016, an Australian couple was caught by a sudden wave. The husband survived, but his wife was lost to the sea. In 2017, a New Zealand tourist disappeared while trying to save his girlfriend, who had been pulled into the water. The steep, slippery cliffs and unexpected waves made Angel's Billabong incredibly dangerous. During high tides, the risks increased, yet many tourists ignored safety warnings, eager to capture the perfect photo. Nilesh had worked in the travel industry for over 30 years and was a treasurer for Skal International, a global network of travel professionals. His death deeply affected his colleagues, who expressed their condolences and support for his grieving family. He left behind his wife, Kavita, and their two sons, Gaurav and Yash, who were heartbroken by his sudden passing. For Kavita, the pain of witnessing her husband being taken by the waves would remain with her forever. Similar tragedies have occurred worldwide, with tourists losing their lives while taking photos in dangerous locations. Incidents include falls from cliffs, slips from ledges, and drownings near rough waters. These events sparked discussions on stricter safety measures, prompting travel agencies to warn clients about high-risk areas. For Nilesh's colleagues, his passing was a painful reminder that even experienced travelers are not immune to danger. What if Nilesh and Kavita had stepped back when warned? What if more tourists understood the risks before visiting places like Angel's Billabong? Would these tragedies still happen if people valued safety over the perfect photograph? These questions offer no comfort to the families who have lost loved ones in similar accidents. But they do serve as a reminder of the importance of caution and awareness when exploring nature's most breathtaking yet unpredictable places. It was November 16, 2018, when 26-year-old John Allen Chow went on a mission that would change his life forever. A deeply committed American missionary, Chow had trained with All Nations International, a Christian organization, and was passionate about sharing his faith. His dream was to reach the Sentinelese tribe, an isolated community living on North Sentinel Island in India's Andaman Islands. They had lived in isolation for thousands of years and were known to reject any outside contact. Despite the risks, Chow believed it was his calling to introduce them to Christianity. Chow was no stranger to the Andaman Islands. He had visited the region in 2015 and 2016, learning about the Sentinelese during his travels. Unlike his earlier trips this time, his goal was more ambitious. He wanted to directly approach the tribe. The Sentinelese, believed to have a population of about 150, are fiercely protective of their isolation. They have consistently resisted outsiders, often reacting with hostility to any intrusions. Driven by his conviction, Chow meticulously planned his mission. He spent months preparing and learning about the risks. He hired local fishermen for $325 to take him close to the island, even though they knew it was illegal and dangerous. The tribe's hostility toward outsiders was well documented, and the Indian government prohibited contact to protect both the tribe and visitors. The fishermen, though reluctant, eventually agreed to assist him. On November 15th, Chow made his first approach to the island in a kayak, paddling alone while the fishermen remained behind. As he neared the shore, he greeted them by saying that his name was John and that he loved them, adding that Jesus loved them as well. The Sentinels responded by readying their arrows. In an effort to show goodwill, he offered them a fish. Despite this gesture, the tribe's hostility intensified, forcing him to retreat. Later that day, Chow tried again. This time he brought gifts, including a football and more fish. The outcome was the same. The tribe reacted with hostility and chased him back into the water. Frustrated but undeterred, Chow wrote in his journal that he felt scared but still believed in his mission. He questioned whether he should leave but ultimately decided he couldn't abandon his purpose. On November 16th, Chow made his final attempt. Before heading to the island, he wrote a letter to his family, acknowledging the risks he faced. He asked for their forgiveness if anything happened to him, explaining that he believed his mission was worth the danger. In his letter, he urged his family not to blame the tribe or God if he didn't survive. As he approached the island, the fishermen waited offshore. They later reported seeing the Sentinelese attack Chow with arrows as he neared the beach. He was struck, and the tribe dragged his body away. The fishermen watched in horror, later recounting that the tribe appeared to bury his body on the beach. Indian authorities confirmed Chow's death but decided against retrieving his remains to avoid further conflict with the tribe. The incident sparked widespread debate. Many criticized Chow's decision, calling it reckless and irresponsible. His actions violated Indian laws designed to protect the Sentinelese from outside interference, including potential exposure to diseases they had no immunity against. Survival International, a human rights group advocating for indigenous tribes, condemned his mission, emphasizing the need to respect the tribe's wishes and isolation. Others viewed Chow's actions as a reflection of his deep faith. His family expressed forgiveness toward the Sentinelese and supported his belief in spreading Christianity. They released a statement forgiving those believed to be responsible for his death. For them, Chow's mission, though controversial, was seen as an act of sincere devotion. The fishermen who helped Chow were arrested for breaking laws protecting the tribe. However, the Sentinelese themselves faced no legal consequences, as their actions were viewed as a defense of their territory. The Indian government reiterated its commitment to protecting the tribe, maintaining strict no-contact policies and keeping the waters around North Sentinel Island off-limits. Chow's death raised important questions about the ethics of missionary work and the risks of contacting isolated communities. Many pointed to the historical devastation caused by outside interference in indigenous cultures, arguing that the Sentinelese had every right to resist outsiders. Critics stressed that Chow's actions, while well-intentioned, ignored the tribe's autonomy and cultural boundaries. For the Sentinelese, life continues as it has for thousands of years, untouched by the modern world. But for those who knew Chow, his story is a painful example of the fine line between faith and respecting others' way of life. Whether his mission was courageous or misguided remains a deeply polarizing topic. In the end, his tragic death forces us to reflect on the consequences of imposing our beliefs on others and the importance of respecting cultural differences. It was June 14, 2016, at Disney World's Grand Floridian Resort and Spa in Orlando, Florida. The Graves family from Elkhorn, Nebraska, was enjoying their vacation at the world-famous theme park. 2-year-old Lane Thomas Graves, a lively and curious child, was spending the evening by the Seven Seas Lagoon with his parents, Matt and Melissa, and his older sister, Ella. That night, Disney was showing Zootopia on an outdoor screen, and Lane was playing with other children in the shallow waters near the shore. It was around 8:30 p.m., a time when alligators were most active. As Lane bent down near the water, an alligator, estimated to be 7 to 8 feet long, emerged from the lagoon. The reptile likely mistook the small boy for prey and moved swiftly. The animal lunged and grabbed Lane, pulling him into the water. His father, Matt, just a few feet away, heard the splash and immediately jumped into action. He rushed into the water, trying to pull his son free from the alligator's powerful grip. Despite his desperate attempts to open the reptile's jaws and rescue Lane, the alligator dragged the child into deeper water and out of reach. A massive search effort began immediately after the incident. Disney staff, local authorities, and dive teams worked tirelessly throughout the night. After 17 hours, Lane's body was found 6 feet underwater, roughly 15 yards from where he was taken. The medical examiner determined his cause of death to be drowning and injuries caused by the alligator. In the days following the tragedy, Disney reviewed its safety measures. The company removed nearly 100 alligators from its properties, installed barriers around the lagoon, and placed new signs warning guests about wildlife dangers. A lighthouse statue was later erected near the lagoon as a tribute to Lane. The Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission investigated the incident and concluded that the attack was predatory. It occurred at dusk, a peak hunting time for alligators, and during the summer months when their drive for food is heightened. Although no swimming signs were posted around the lagoon, they didn't mention the presence of alligators. Reports later surfaced that guests had warned Disney staff about the alligator before the attack, but no immediate action was taken. For Matt and Melissa Graves, the loss of Lane was a heartbreak beyond words. They chose not to pursue legal action against Disney, despite receiving worldwide sympathy and support. Instead, they established the Lane Thomas Foundation to honor their son. The foundation supports families navigating the challenges of pediatric organ transplants, a cause close to the Graves family's hearts. Through this work, they aim to create a lasting legacy for Lane. They expressed their gratitude for the overwhelming kindness shown to them, acknowledging their daily miss of Lane and their efforts to make a positive impact in his name. Years later, Lane's story remains deeply impactful. It raises questions about whether earlier warnings could have prevented the tragedy. What if clearer signs had been posted? What if the family had been alerted to potential dangers? While these questions may never have answers, the memory of Lane reminds us of the balance between human activity and wildlife interactions. August 17, 2024, in Mauritius, a tropical island known for its stunning beaches and clear blue waters. Zalia Shamigulova, a 29-year-old university teacher from Russia, had traveled there for a vacation. She was adventurous and well-known online, having even carried the Olympic torch during the 2014 Winter Olympics in Sochi. During her trip, she shared joyful updates with friends and family, saying she was catching happiness every day. But her vacation would soon take a tragic turn. That day, Zalia had plans to meet Puryavirsing Sundur, a 29-year-old IT engineer from Mauritius. The two had connected on the dating app Tinder, and what started as a casual meeting would soon become something much darker. Closed-circuit television footage captured Zalia for the last time as she left her rental flat near Flic-on-Flac Beach. She was seen getting into a blue Toyota driven by Sundur, who had offered her a ride. After that, she vanished. Her travel companion grew worried when she didn't return that evening. By the next day, Zalia's family in Russia received strange messages claiming she had chosen to disappear and didn't want to be contacted. This was completely unlike her. She was always in touch with her loved ones, and her sudden silence sent waves of panic through her family. Days passed with no sign of Zalia. Then on August 22nd, authorities made a grim discovery: a body buried in a shallow grave in La Marie, a residential area on the island. The remains were identified as Zalia's. She had suffered multiple stab wounds, and an unsettling detail emerged: her tongue had been removed. This disturbing discovery hinted at the violent nature of the attack and left investigators with many questions. Sundur, who had been taken into custody, led police to the burial site. His car contained crucial evidence, traces of blood, that tied him to the crime. When questioned, he admitted to everything. He claimed he had been deeply in love with Zalia and believed they were planning a future together. But according to him, he had discovered something about her that filled him with rage. He took her on a sightseeing trip, but at some point anger overwhelmed him. He attacked her, causing fatal injuries, then hastily buried her body in a remote location. His confession raised more questions than answers. Was his story true, or was there more to it? Zalia had been full of life, sharing her experiences with those who followed her online. Just days before her death, she had spoken about happiness. No one could have imagined how quickly things would change. Her family was devastated. She had planned to continue her travels to Madagascar on September 1st. Instead, she never made it home. Investigators continued looking into the case, unsure if Sundur had acted alone. Some of Zalia's belongings were missing, and authorities questioned whether there were others involved. The shocking details of her final moments left people wondering, did she sense danger before it was too late? Mauritius, a popular destination for travelers, was shaken by the news. A trip that started with excitement had ended in tragedy. Tourists who once felt safe now reconsidered how much they trusted strangers. As authorities worked to piece together the full story, one thing remained clear. Zalia's life had been taken too soon by someone she barely knew. The dangers of meeting strangers, especially while traveling, became painfully real. Online connections, often made with good intentions, could sometimes lead to devastating consequences. What if Zalia had never met Sundur? Would she still be alive today, exploring the world as she had planned? These are questions no one can truly answer. Her tragic fate stands as a chilling reminder of how quickly things can change. The evening of July 12, 2017, at Maho Beach in Sint Maarten, a Caribbean island famous for its breathtakingly close view of airplanes landing and taking off at Princess Juliana International Airport. Hundreds of tourists had gathered near the airport fence, eager to experience the powerful jet blast. Among them was Gayleen McEwen, a 57-year-old mother of 3 from New Zealand, who was on vacation with her husband Phil and 2 friends. Maho Beach is known for its unique but risky attraction, standing near the airport fence as planes take off. The force of the engines creates a powerful blast, which many tourists find thrilling. Despite clear warning signs advising people to stay back, many still take the risk, hoping to feel the intense rush of air. That evening, Gayleen and her group stood close to the fence, unaware that their vacation was about to take a tragic turn. At around 6 p.m., a Boeing 737 was preparing for takeoff, bound for Trinidad. As the engines roared to full power, the jet blast surged toward the crowd. The force was overwhelming. Gayleen, who had been gripping the fence, lost her hold and was thrown backward. She fell hard onto the concrete pavement behind her. Witnesses immediately rushed to her aid. A bystander performed cardiopulmonary resuscitation while waiting for medical help. Paramedics arrived and transported Gayleen to Sint Maarten Medical Center, but despite their efforts, she did not survive. The impact of the fall caused severe injuries, which ultimately led to her passing. Her family was in shock. Janice McEwen, Gayleen's sister-in-law, spoke about their grief, explaining how difficult it was to accept that someone so full of life had been lost so suddenly. Gayleen's daughter, Natasha, shared that the family was too heartbroken to talk about the incident at that time. The vacation that was supposed to be a time of joy turned into an unimaginable tragedy. Gayleen and Phil were well-respected business owners in New Zealand, running Blenheim Palms Motel together. They had also invested millions in a motel in Dunedin, which they opened in 2009. Their hard work and dedication made them well known in their community. This was the first recorded fatality at Maho Beach, despite several injuries over the years. Rolando Brisson, the island's director of tourism, expressed his condolences to the family and acknowledged the dangers of the activity. While the McEwen family recognized the risks, they deeply regretted not keeping a safer distance from the fence. Authorities had long been aware of the dangers at Maho Beach. Signs were placed around the area, warning visitors about the risks of standing too close. These warnings clearly stated that the blast from departing planes could cause serious injuries or worse. Yet, the thrill of the experience often outweighed caution for many tourists. Aviation experts, including Peter Clark, emphasized the dangers of standing in the path of jet engines. He explained that the force from a plane at full throttle is strong enough to throw people off their feet, sometimes with devastating consequences. He also pointed out that the takeoff blast is far more dangerous than the landing approach, as the engines operate at maximum power. Gayleen's tragedy was not the first close call at Maho Beach. In 2012, another woman was seriously injured when she was pushed into a concrete barrier by a jet blast. A video of the incident went viral, showing just how powerful and hazardous the experience could be. Sadly, that footage foreshadowed what would happen to Gayleen 5 years later. Despite these warnings and past incidents, thrill seekers continued to flock to the beach, eager to feel the power of the jet engines. Many ignored the posted safety signs, believing they could handle the force. Unfortunately, Gayleen's case was a devastating example of how quickly things could go wrong. After her passing, police urged tourists to follow the safety guidelines. Spokesman Ricardo Henson confirmed that while many had been injured over the years, Gayleen's loss deeply impacted the local community. Authorities reiterated the importance of keeping a safe distance from the runway to prevent similar tragedies. Gayleen's family had traveled to St. Martin expecting a memorable vacation, but they were instead faced with unimaginable grief. As they struggled to cope with their loss, questions remained. Could this have been prevented if the safety warnings were taken more seriously? Could authorities have done more to enforce safety measures? While those answers remain uncertain, one fact is clear. This tragedy serves as a serious lesson about the consequences of underestimating potential dangers. Even today, tourists continue to visit Maho Beach, drawn by the thrill of the jet blasts. However, Gayleen's story is a reminder that some risks should never be taken lightly. 28, 2018, a family vacation in Hurghada, Egypt, turned into a nightmare. Janice Bowles, a 58-year-old grandmother from Bristol, was on a dolphin-watching excursion with her loved ones when a tragic accident took her life. The trip, organized by Thomas Cook, was meant to be a fun day on the water, but it ended in disaster. Janice was full of life, known for her humor, kindness, and love for her family. That day, she joined her daughter, Hannah Barcroft, and other family members on a banana boat ride, an inflatable tube towed by a speedboat. It was a common activity in Hurghada, popular among tourists seeking adventure. But what started as an exciting experience quickly turned into chaos. The driver, showing off by taking his hands off the wheel and leaning over the side, caused the boat to flip, throwing everyone into the sea. While most resurfaced, Janice became trapped under the overturned inflatable and couldn't free herself. Panic spread as those around her tried to help. Hannah could only watch in horror as her mother gasped for air, repeatedly sinking beneath the water. Hannah screamed for help, desperately trying to reach her, but it was too late. The minutes dragged on as Janice remained trapped, her mouth slipping under the waves again and again. Rescuers eventually pulled Janice onto the speedboat, but the damage had already been done. Her lips had turned blue and her body was lifeless. Despite frantic attempts to revive her, including chest compressions from a former soldier on board, a crucial step was missed. Her airways were never properly opened. One witness begged rescuers to help her breathe, but his pleas were ignored. When they reached the marina, emergency responders continued cardiopulmonary resuscitation, inserting tubes in an attempt to save her. Hannah, in shock, clung to her mother, begging her to wake up. But 5 minutes after arriving at the hospital, doctors confirmed the worst. Janice had passed away. Her family was shattered by the sudden and overwhelming loss. Hannah later reflected on the heartbreaking moment she had to let go, desperately trying to hold on. When she was finally pulled away from her mother's body, it felt as though her entire world had collapsed. Janice's other daughter, Anne-Marie Cox, expressed her heartbreak on social media, struggling to process the devastating loss. The news came as a profound shock to the entire family. She remembered her mother as the funniest, kindest, and most loving person she had ever known. Adding to the family's distress was a chilling connection to another recent tragedy. Just a week before Janice's accident, British couple John and Susan Cooper mysteriously lost their lives at a nearby hotel, Steigenberger Aqua Magic. Their deaths raised concerns about safety in the resort area, with speculation about possible exposure to toxic chemicals. The timing of Janice's accident only deepened the unease surrounding Hurghada's tourist activities. Following Janice's death, Thomas Cook suspended all banana boat excursions in the area and launched an investigation. A spokesperson from the company expressed condolences to the Bowles family, assuring the public that they were working to determine what went wrong. But for Janice's loved ones, no investigation could undo the pain of losing her. Hannah, still grieving, reflected on how much her mother had meant to her. She described Janice as an amazing person who would do anything to help. Janice's love for her family and her big heart had been central to her life. Her sudden loss left an emptiness in their lives that could never be filled. The tragedy raised serious questions. How could a simple water activity turn deadly? Why wasn't Janice given the proper medical support when she was pulled from the water? Could better safety measures have saved her life? Janice's death, along with the Coopers' mysterious passing, left many wondering if more could be done to protect tourists in Hurghada. Whether it was a tragic accident or something more, her family is left with unimaginable grief. One thing remains certain: Janice's absence will forever leave a void in the hearts of those who loved her. It was December 10th, 2023, in Medellin, Colombia. Tao Ger-Xiong, a 50-year-old comedian and Hmong community activist from Minnesota, was on a trip he had taken many times before. Known for his humor and dedication to cultural diversity, Xiong loved Colombia. He often visited to enjoy the holidays and connect with friends, but this trip would be his last. Tu Ger-Xiong was born in Laos in 1973. His family fled to Thailand as refugees when he was 2 years old. After 4 years in a refugee camp, they resettled in St. Paul, Minnesota in 1975. Xiong grew up in the Twin Cities, becoming a beloved figure in the Hmong community. He was the valedictorian of his class at Humboldt High School and graduated from Carleton College with a degree in political science. Known as America's only Hmong comedian, Xiong used his platform to celebrate cultural diversity and fight for justice. On that December evening, Xiong went out to meet a woman he had connected with on social media. They arranged to meet in a public place, a common practice in Medellin, known for both its beauty and its dangers. Xiong was cautious, but he couldn't have foreseen the horrific events that would follow. As the evening progressed, Xiong found himself surrounded by a group of men. They kidnapped him, tied him up, and took him to an apartment in the Robledo area of Medellin. The men took his credit card, cell phone, and wallet. They demanded a $2,000 ransom, approximately 8 million Colombian pesos. Xiong managed to call his brother A back in the United States. His voice was filled with fear as he relayed the kidnappers' demands. The family, desperate to save Xiong, quickly gathered the money and sent it to a woman's account as instructed by the kidnappers. But the payment did not secure his release. On December 11, 2023, Xiong's lifeless body was discovered in a wooded area. He had been brutally stabbed over a dozen times, suffered blunt force trauma to the head, and was thrown from a 60-foot height. The news of Xiong's death shocked the St. Paul community. Friends, family, and local officials expressed their grief and outrage. Xiong's family also released a statement, expressing their heartbreak and calling for justice. Authorities in Colombia acted swiftly. 3 adults and a teenager were arrested and charged with aggravated kidnapping for extortion and aggravated homicide. The suspects were identified as Charit Gisela Mejia Martinez, Santiago Bustamante Londono, and Andres Hincapié Obregón. All 3 denied the charges, but a 17-year-old had already confessed to his involvement in the crime. He was transferred to a special detention center for minors. The details of Xiong's final hours were harrowing. Held at gunpoint, tied up and stabbed repeatedly, he endured unimaginable terror. Despite the family's swift payment of the ransom, the kidnappers showed no mercy. The brutality of the crime shocked everyone who knew him. Xiong's memorial service was held over 3 days in accordance with Hmong tradition. Hundreds of mourners gathered to say their goodbyes. His brother A spoke about Xiong's deep love for his community and his unwavering spirit in fighting for justice. "It's sad, my family is sad," he said, "but we are glad that we can finally put closure to his life here and then move beyond this point." At the funeral, friends and family remembered Xiong for his humor, kindness, and dedication. He had given over 1,600 presentations across 48 states, spreading laughter and cultural awareness. Xiong's impact extended far beyond Minnesota. He was known for his activism, particularly in the Hmong community. He had organized protests, such as in 2007, when he called for justice after a white man killed a Hmong hunter in Wisconsin. In 2021, he supported a rally for a Hmong man killed by law enforcement in California. He also helped build solidarity between the Hmong community and the Black Lives Matter movement. U.S. Senators Tina Smith and Amy Klobuchar both expressed their condolences and assured the public that their offices were working with authorities to ensure justice for Xiong. In the wake of Xiong's death, his family announced plans to establish a foundation in his name. The foundation would continue Xiong's work in promoting cultural diversity and social justice. As the investigation continued, the community rallied together, sharing stories and memories of Xiong. His life, though tragically cut short, had left a mark on everyone he met. His ability to bring people together through humor and storytelling was unmatched. On October 19, 2023, Gregory Stewart Owens, a 59-year-old retired UPS driver from Chattanooga, Tennessee, was celebrating his birthday in Cartagena, Colombia. Owens had chosen to spend his special day in this city. However, the evening took a tragic turn when he became the victim of a violent robbery that cost him his life. Near Cartagena's town center, two men approached Owens, targeting a valuable gold chain he wore. Security footage showed Owens resisting with all his strength to keep his cherished necklace. The situation escalated, and Owens tried to flee, but the robbers shot him in the head and chest. Severely injured, he was rushed to a nearby hospital but succumbed to his injuries a few hours later. The news of his death spread quickly, overshadowing what should have been a joyous occasion. In the days following the incident, the Colombian National Police, with help from the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, and local law enforcement, launched an intensive investigation. On November 4th, they arrested 3 suspects: Juan Camilo Valoyes, known as El Cabe, Wilmer Flores, known as Chatara, and David Jr. Perez, known as El Jr. These men were charged with aggravated homicide, illegal firearm activities, robbery, and receipt of stolen property. Days later, Colombian law enforcement arrested a 4th unnamed suspect. Gregory Owens' family in Chattanooga was devastated by the news. His sister, Deborah Wortham, spoke fondly of him, saying, "He was good to his neighbors, his community, and anyone who met him. He had many friends and was a loving, giving person who will be truly missed by all of us." Bringing Owens' body back to the United States was a significant challenge. His family faced numerous bureaucratic problems and logistical issues. A family member had to travel to Colombia to identify his body, and Owens' bilingual wife played a crucial role in translating long-distance calls. Tennessee U.S. Senator Marsha Blackburn, Tennessee 3rd District Congressman Chuck Fleischman, and the U.S. Embassy in Colombia assisted in expediting the process. After 2 long weeks, Owens' body was finally returned to Chattanooga. A balloon release was held in Owens' honor, with family members, friends, and former co-workers gathering to pay tribute. His son, Corey Owens, expressed gratitude for the support and condolences from the citizens of Cartagena. Despite the tragic circumstances, Corey acknowledged the kindness and sympathy shown by the local community. Gregory Owens' impact was felt not only in his hometown, but also in Cartagena, where he had made a positive difference in the lives of a local family. Owens' former co-worker, Conley Mercer, shared how Owens had taken a local family under his wing, providing them with food and support. On November 11th, a memorial service was held for Gregory Owens at Mount Canaan Baptist Church, where family and friends gathered to celebrate his life and mourn his loss. The eulogy was delivered by Pastor Sandra Faye Wilkes, one of Owens' sisters. While the suspects were in custody, the Owens family felt that the potential punishment for the men responsible for Gregory's death was insufficient. They decided to file a lawsuit against the Colombian government, arguing that more should have been done to prevent the tragedy. Legal experts explained that seeking justice would be a lengthy and resource-intensive process. The Owens family remained firm in their pursuit of justice. Despite the challenges ahead, they were determined to hold those responsible accountable for their actions. The support from their community, both in Chattanooga and in Cartagena, provided them with strength and comfort during this difficult time. As the investigation continued, more details emerged. A 5th suspect was arrested, bringing the total number of individuals in custody to 5. All 5 men maintained their innocence despite being offered plea deals. If found guilty, they faced a maximum sentence of 33 years in prison. The family's legal battle was not just about seeking justice for Gregory Owens. It was also about preventing other families from experiencing similar tragedies. Andre Massengil, a former co-worker of Owen's, emphasized this point, saying, "We do not want another American family to go through what we've had to endure. This is what our fight is about." It was October 17, 2022, in the Belen Los Alpes neighborhood of Medellin, Colombia. Nicholas Vincent Flatts, a 56-year-old from Springfield, Massachusetts, was an avid traveler and runner. He had rented an apartment there on September 22, 2022. Nicholas had visited Medellin before in 2018 and 2021, and his social media was filled with images from his trips to Colombia, Mexico, and Brazil. Neighbors knew Nicholas as friendly and sociable. By the second week of October, they noticed something odd. Nicholas hadn't been seen for several days. Calls to his phone went unanswered, and a foul odor began to emanate from his apartment, growing stronger each day. On October 17th, around 5:15 p.m., concerned neighbors decided to check on Nicholas. They knocked on his door but received no response. The smell was overwhelming. With no other choice, they forced their way into his fifth-floor apartment. They found Nicholas lying on his bed, lifeless and decomposing. The neighbors immediately called the police. Nicholas Vincent Flatts was an American citizen born in Boston, Massachusetts, but he had lived in Springfield for many years. His social media profiles showcased his love for travel and running. Friends and family were used to seeing regular updates from him, documenting his adventures. Nicholas had a routine of updating his social media and staying in touch with his loved ones. His sudden silence was out of character. Concern grew among his friends back home when they couldn't reach him. Calls and messages went unanswered. As days passed, worry turned into alarm, leading his neighbors in Medellin to take action. When the police entered the apartment, they were met with a terrifying scene. The body of Nicholas Flatts was on his bed, and the smell indicated he had been dead for several days. The officers conducted a thorough search of the apartment, but found no signs of violence or forced entry. Everything appeared normal, except for the tragic discovery. The authorities transported Nicholas's body to the morgue for an autopsy. The results were crucial in determining the cause of his death. The initial lack of visible injuries left many questions unanswered. What could have led to the sudden death of a seemingly healthy man who was known for his active lifestyle? As news of Nicholas's death spread, it sent shockwaves through the expatriate community in Medellin and among his friends and family in the United States. Nicholas was the 27th foreigner to die in the Aburra Valley that year, with 25 of those deaths occurring in Medellin. This statistic highlighted a concerning trend that local authorities were keen to address. In recent months, Medellin has seen an increase in crimes targeting foreigners. Criminals often used apps like Tinder to lure their victims. Just a few months prior, the Aburra Valley Metropolitan Police had arrested 5 individuals, 3 women and 2 men, suspected of being part of a gang that targeted and extorted foreigners. These arrests were part of a broader effort by the police, the district attorney's office, and the mayor's office to crack down on such crimes. While there was no immediate evidence linking Nicholas's death to foul play, the authorities couldn't rule out any possibilities until the autopsy results were in. The case of Nicholas Flatts drew significant media attention, with local and international outlets reporting on the mysterious circumstances surrounding his death. As the investigation continued, the focus shifted to the autopsy. The medical examiners needed to determine if Nicholas had died of natural causes, an accident, or something more sinister. The absence of visible injuries complicated the case, making the autopsy the key to unlocking the mystery. In the weeks following Nicholas's death, the authorities kept a close watch on the situation. They were determined to provide answers to his family and ensure the safety of other foreign visitors. Nicholas's family, devastated by the news, awaited the results of the autopsy with heavy hearts. They remembered him as a loving and adventurous spirit who embraced life to the fullest. His frequent travels and active lifestyle were proof that he lived a good life. Now they needed to know what had taken him from them so suddenly.
By 2024, Carlos Luna, a 43-year-old from Ejea de los Caballeros, near Zaragoza, Spain, embarked on a journey to South Africa's Pilanesberg National Park. Joined by his fiancée and 2 of her female friends who lived in Johannesburg, Carlos sought the thrill of close encounters with nature. This experience tragically ended in a terrifying disaster. On Sunday, July 7th, 2024, Carlos Luna, his fiancée and their friends entered Pilanesberg National Park through the Bagasia Gate. Pilanesberg is a famous sanctuary with some of nature's most magnificent creatures in an ancient volcanic crater. The park is a natural habitat for Africa's so-called Big Five: elephant, buffalo, lion, leopard, and rhino. The group was in high spirits. They had cameras, so they took pictures of the wildlife and the landscape as they drove through the park. Soon after they entered the park, though, they spotted something that encouraged 43-year-old Carlos Luna to make a reckless decision. The group spotted a breeding herd of elephants by a lake, 3 adults and 3 calves. It was an awe-inspiring sight, enough that Carlos left their vehicle's safety, wanting to capture some up-close pictures of the herd. By doing so, he actively disregarded the park's guidelines, which state that tourists must remain in their vehicles to ensure their safety and that of wildlife. But not everyone supported the man's decision. His fiancée and her 2 friends tried to get Carlos back to safety. They pleaded with him, asking him over and over again to abandon his plan. But Carlos's decision was final. With his camera in his hands, the man approached the towering animals. He ventured closer and closer, possibly hoping to take the picture of a lifetime. The herd was impressive. It consisted of a massive 3.5-ton female elephant, the leader of the group, 2 adult male elephants, and 3 calves. The animals were calm initially, probably unaware of the approaching human. However, that changed almost instantly as soon as the matriarch, the female elephant who led the group, sensed Carlos approaching. She was spooked. Elephants are fiercely protective of their young, and any perceived threat can provoke a violent response. The matriarch charged at Carlos, driven by instinct to protect her family. Carlos was overcome by panic. The 2 other adult males joined the charge. It was a terrifying sight, made even worse by the animal's sheer size. Carlos knew he was in grave danger. As such, he turned and started to run, his camera still in his hands. He had to make it back to the vehicle. Meanwhile, his fiancée and her friends watched in horror. They could do nothing but scream as the angry elephants closed in. It all happened in a flash. The elephants overtook Carlos, knocking him down and trampling him into the earth. 30 seconds. That's all it took for 43-year-old Carlos Luna to find his gruesome end. The attack left behind a horrifying sight: blood-soaked clothing, and the remnants of Carlos Luna's body, crushed beyond recognition. After the attack, the herd left peacefully, and their perceived threat disappeared. Park officials were alerted by the frantic witnesses. They rushed to the site, but they knew nothing could be gone. Carlos's fiancée and friends were left in a state of pure shock, requiring immediate counseling to cope with the trauma. A female elephant can stand over 11 feet tall, weigh up to 4 tons, and run up to 25 miles per hour. Bull elephants are even more prominent, reaching up to 13 feet in height and weighing as much as 6 tons. Carlos Luna never stood a chance against the herd. Following the incident, the Northwest Parks and Tourism Board conveyed their sincere condolences to Carlos's family and underlined the significance of following safety procedures. Peter Nell, the acting chief conservation officer, emphasized that these rules are in place to safeguard both visitors and animals, and that this occurrence should serve as a clear reminder of the possible consequences of disobeying them. It was October 3rd, 2022. Jörg Schnarr, a 67-year-old retired human resources director from Fulda, Germany, had just begun his holiday with his wife Vera and their close friends, Rainer and Andrea Nuchter. The couple planned to go on their dream safari in South Africa. The group had landed in Johannesburg earlier that day and were eagerly driving towards the Kruger National Park for a luxurious stay at Madluli Lodge, but they never made it to their accommodation. Kruger National Park is one of Africa's largest game reserves and a famous wildlife sanctuary. The park is home to the Big Five, and people worldwide come to see its iconic species, such as lions, buffaloes, leopards, elephants, and rhinos. When it happened, Jörg, his wife, and his friends were just 25 miles from the park's main gate. Their dream vacation was shattered before it even began. The friends were traveling through the farming village of Whitewater, in Mpumalanga province, with Jörg at the wheel, when a car swerved in front of their vehicle, blocking their path and preventing them from making it to the safety of the park. Inside the car were 3 armed men who wanted to rob Jörg's group. They ordered Jörg to stop the vehicle. They wanted everyone to step out, but 67-year-old Jörg Schnarr refused to stop the car. Instead, he decided to defy the 3 gunmen, probably meaning to protect his loved ones. Jörg locked the doors and started to reverse. It was a decision that would cost him his life. But as he did so, one of the gunmen opened fire, shooting Jörg at point-blank range through the window. The bullet lodged itself in Jörg Schnarr's upper body. The vehicle veered out of control, careening backward for some 330 feet before crashing into the wall of a local school. Jörg's wife and friends were in shock, fearing for their lives, but the attackers fled the scene empty-handed. Paramedics and police arrived swiftly, but it was too late. Jörg was beyond saving. He was found slumped over the wheel, having died almost instantly from the fatal gunshot wound. The South African Police Service launched an immediate search for the 3 suspects. The Mpumalanga Tourism and Parks Agency offered complete trauma counseling to help the survivors cope with the horrific experience. The organization called the shooting an act of sabotage against the travel and tourism sector and offered a £500 reward for information leading to the murderer's capture. Police found one of the suspects in possession of the white Toyota Taz automobile used in the gruesome murder. The suspects are thought to be connected to a series of business robberies in the area. Joseph Nyalunga, 35, Marshall Tsibo Mamba, 38, and Bonga Musa Fortune Matsani, 25, face charges of murder, attempted murder, and attempted hijacking. Their case has been transferred to the Mbombela High Court for trial. The trial is set for 2024. The attack has not only claimed the life of a beloved husband and friend, but has also cast a shadow over the reputation of the Kruger National Park, a haven for wildlife enthusiasts worldwide.
On January 21, 2025, a tragic incident unfolded in Roldanillo, Colombia, a town famous for its ideal paragliding conditions. Known as the paragliding capital of the world, the Aguapanela launch site was bustling with activity that day, as tourists and athletes alike took to the skies. Among them was 38-year-old Paulina Biskup, a Polish national living in Dublin, who had come to experience the thrill of paragliding with her boyfriend and friends. Paulina had built a life in Dublin after graduating from Trinity College and was known for her adventurous spirit. During their trip to Colombia, she and her friends decided to take part in paragliding, though they weren't part of a major event happening in the area at the time. While Paulina launched from Aguapanela, her boyfriend and the rest of the group took off from a nearby site. The day began as an exciting adventure for Paulina. As she soared over Roldanillo's lush terrain, the breathtaking views stretched out below her. However, just minutes into her flight, the situation turned grim. Strong winds caused her parachute to swing violently, making it difficult for her to maintain control. Witnesses on the ground watched in shock as her harness appeared to fail. The parachute began to collapse and Paulina slipped out, falling several feet to the ground. Bystanders screamed as they watched her descend. The sound of the parachute crumpling echoed through the air, and video footage captured Paulina's desperate attempts to regain stability. Tragically, her harness had not been properly secured, and she was unable to prevent the fall. She disappeared into the tall grass below, which provided little to no cushioning against the force of impact. Emergency teams arrived quickly, but Paulina had already succumbed to her injuries. Officials believe the impact was fatal on contact. Local authorities confirmed that the primary cause of the accident was an improperly fastened harness. The investigation revealed that the harness had not been secured correctly, leading to her fall. While human error is being cited as a key factor, the investigation into the incident is ongoing. At the time, Paulina had been enjoying the experience of paragliding in Roldanillo, unaware of the tragedy that would unfold. Paulina's family and friends, who had been in regular contact with her during her trip, were devastated by the news. Her adventurous nature had brought her to Colombia, and the paragliding trip was intended to be a celebration of life. Instead, it ended in heartbreak, leaving a void for those who loved her. In the wake of the accident, Roldanillo authorities emphasized the need for stricter safety measures. They called on operators, locals, and tourists to prioritize safety protocols and thoroughly check all equipment before takeoff. The mayor's office issued a statement urging everyone in the paragliding community to ensure proper inspections and procedures to prevent future tragedies. This incident has also sparked a larger discussion about safety in extreme sports. While activities like paragliding offer thrilling experiences, they come with inherent risks that can be mitigated with proper preparation and vigilance. The events leading to Paulina's fall became a reminder of how crucial these measures are. Questions remain about the circumstances surrounding her death. What if the harness had been double-checked? What if the winds had been less aggressive? Could early intervention have made a difference? These lingering uncertainties haunt both authorities and her loved ones as they seek closure. Though Paulina's life was cut tragically short, her story highlights the importance of prioritizing safety in adventurous pursuits. Her love for exploration and new experiences inspired those around her, and while her passing is a heartbreaking loss, it underscores the need for caution and care in high-risk activities. Her memory reminds us of the value of preparation in ensuring that adventure doesn't come at the cost of safety. It was October 18, 2024, off the coast of Pulau Masokut Island in Indonesia. Giulia Manfrini, a 36-year-old Italian surfer, was enjoying the waves with two close friends, Alexandra Ribas and Massimo Ferro. Known for her love of adventure and her infectious energy, Giulia had co-founded A Wave Travel, a surf travel agency, and had spent years surfing in the Mentawai Islands, a place she considered her second home. Giulia had a background as a professional snowboarder, but had devoted much of her life to surfing. That morning, as the group surfed near the southern part of Siberut Island, something completely unexpected happened. A swordfish suddenly leaped out of the water, striking Giulia in the chest. Its sharp bill caused severe injuries, piercing 5 centimeters deep. Giulia's screams alerted her friends, who immediately rushed to help. They tried to provide first aid, but a large wave complicated their rescue efforts. The group managed to bring Giulia to the shore, where a doctor among them attempted to revive her. Despite their desperate efforts, she was unresponsive. Giulia was quickly taken to the Pepe Pasakiat Taileloi Health Center, but her injuries proved fatal. The swordfish's bill had struck near her heart, and she was pronounced dead shortly after arrival. The news of Giulia's death shocked the global surfing community. Known for her vibrant personality, Giulia had inspired many with her passion for the sport and her adventurous lifestyle. James Colston, her co-founder at A Wave Travel, shared a heartfelt tribute, calling her the heart and soul of their company. He described Giulia as someone whose enthusiasm for surfing and snowboarding had touched countless lives, adding that she passed away doing what she loved in a place she adored. Such incidents are incredibly rare. Reports of swordfish injuring humans are almost unheard of, with only a few cases documented globally. One notable case, cited in the Asian Journal of Surgery from 2007, involved a man who was fatally injured by a swordfish while fishing. However, Giulia's case is believed to be the first involving a surfer, making it even more shocking. The Mentawai Islands are renowned for their pristine beauty and challenging waves, attracting surfers from all over the world. Despite the risks of the waters, Giulia often spoke about her deep connection to the area. She loved the raw, wild nature of North Sumatra, particularly Nias, a wave spot where she could spend hours surfing without tiring. Tributes poured in from around the world following her death. Fabio Giulivi, the mayor of her hometown, Venaria Reali in Italy, expressed the town's grief, calling her loss devastating. On social media, her 22,000 Instagram followers shared heartfelt messages, remembering her as a bright, energetic force who inspired those around her. Friends and fans alike described her as more than a talented surfer. She was a mentor, a friend, and someone who brought people together through her love for the ocean. Giulia's tragic passing underscores the unpredictable nature of the sea. The Mentawai Islands, though breathtakingly beautiful, are known for their dangers. Yet Giulia had always embraced the risk that came with her passion for surfing. Her love for the ocean wasn't just about catching waves, it was about connecting with the people and places that made her feel alive. While questions remain about the freak accident, why the swordfish leaped, whether it could have been avoided, her friends and family focus on the legacy she left behind. Giulia's adventurous spirit, her love for life, and her ability to inspire others are the qualities she will be remembered for. Her story is a reminder of the beauty and unpredictability of the ocean. Giulia lived her life fully, following her dreams and building a community of like-minded adventurers. Though her life ended too soon, she left behind a legacy of passion, courage, and joy that will continue to inspire those who knew her. Giulia Manfrini will always be remembered as a woman who chased the waves she loved, lived on her terms, and brought light to those around her. While her passing leaves a void, her memory lives on in the hearts of her loved ones and the global surfing community. It was October 25, 2023, in Indonesia's Limpakuwus pine forest. The Geyong Bridge, a glass-bottom walkway supported by two giant golden hands, was a major tourist attraction. Spanning 30 feet or 10 meters above the forest, its clear floor gave visitors thrilling views below and made it a popular spot for photos. That Wednesday morning, a group of 11 tourists from Cilacap, Central Java, gathered to walk the bridge. The atmosphere seemed calm as they stepped onto the transparent structure, unaware of the danger awaiting them. At around 10 a.m., the glass panel suddenly gave way. The shattering glass echoed through the forest, followed by the terrified screams of visitors. 4 tourists fell as the structure collapsed. Two of them plummeted to the ground below. Tragically, one of them was pronounced dead at the scene. The other miraculously survived with only minor injuries. The remaining two were thrown off balance but managed to hold on to the bridge's frame, clinging desperately to avoid falling. Onlookers rushed to pull the two to safety. Meanwhile, another tourist who had fallen managed to climb back onto the bridge, while the lifeless body of the deceased victim lay below. Video footage captured the chaos, showing both the rescue efforts and the grim aftermath. As investigations began, it became clear that the tragedy wasn't a random accident, but the result of neglect. Concerns about the bridge's safety had been raised months before. In April 2023, Ikap Purnomo, chairman of the Limpakawus Pine Forest Cooperative, urged the bridge's management to evaluate the structure after visitors raised concerns about its stability. However, the manager failed to take these warnings seriously. Instead of attending a meeting to address the issue, he sent a representative who left without discussing the matter. Despite the clear warnings, no meaningful action was taken to inspect or strengthen the bridge. This negligence raised serious questions about the bridge's maintenance and safety standards. The collapse quickly became a national issue. Local police sealed off the area as a crime scene and launched an investigation. The Limpakawus Pine Forest, which operates separately from the Gyeong Bridge, was temporarily closed for further safety inspections. The tragedy also brought attention to the growing trend of glass-bottom walkways. While these attractions offer breathtaking views, they pose risks when safety is compromised. Tourists often trust that such structures are secure, but incidents like this reveal how quickly things can go wrong. This was not the first time glass walkways had raised concerns. In 2021, a man in China was left clinging to the side of a glass bridge after strong winds damaged the structure. Though he was rescued, the event highlighted the potential dangers of these attractions. In the case of the Gyeong Bridge, the tragedy might have been prevented if safety concerns had been taken seriously. Several visitors had already voiced complaints on social media, yet their warnings went unaddressed. Critics argued that the management failed in its responsibility to prioritize visitor safety. The structural failure also highlighted the importance of material quality in glass-bottom walkways. These structures must be strong enough to hold the weight of multiple visitors. When even a single panel breaks, there's little time to react, as seen in this incident where 4 people were affected instantly. As the investigation continues, many are questioning how often such attractions are inspected and whether existing safety measures are sufficient. Could more rigorous inspections and prompt action have saved lives? Unfortunately, these questions remain unanswered. For now, the tragedy has sparked calls for stricter safety regulations and better oversight of tourist attractions, especially those with unconventional designs like glass walkways. While these structures offer thrilling experiences, they also carry risks if not properly maintained. The loss of life on the Gyeong Bridge is a devastating reminder of what can happen when safety concerns are ignored. As authorities work to uncover more details, one thing is clear. Such incidents show the importance of prioritizing safety in tourist destinations. It was December 21st, 2024, in Marsa Alam, Egypt. Gianluca Di Gioia, a 48-year-old Italian diplomat, was vacationing with his friend, 69-year-old Giuseppe Fapani. The two had traveled to Egypt to celebrate Di Gioia's birthday. They were staying at the Red Sea Sataya Resort, a popular spot known for its coral reefs and clear waters. Wanting to explore the sea, they decided to go snorkeling. The men swam about 50 meters from shore just outside the coral reef, a common area for tourists looking for a better view of marine life. The waters there were not known for dangerous encounters, but it was beyond the usual safe swimming zones. As they enjoyed the experience, something completely unexpected happened. A large tiger shark suddenly appeared and moved toward them. Di Gioia was the first to react, shouting for help. At first, Fapani thought his friend was struggling with the current, but the reality was far worse. The shark had targeted Di Gioia. In a desperate attempt to help, Fapani swam toward him. However, before he could reach his friend, the shark turned on him. It bit into his legs, pulling him beneath the water. Fapani fought back, pushing and kicking, trying to break free. The struggle felt endless. Eventually, he managed to escape, but not without serious injuries. Bleeding and exhausted, he swam toward the shore. On the pier, Their wives, Lawrence and Fapani's spouse, watched in horror. They had seen the men swim out but were now witnessing a nightmare unfold. Lawrence screamed for help, and resort staff rushed to launch a small boat. By the time rescuers reached Fapani, he was barely conscious. He was pulled onto the boat and rushed to safety. Sadly, Di Gioia did not make it. As Fapani struggled back to shore, the shark remained near Di Gioia. The women could only watch helplessly as the tragedy unfolded. Within moments, Di Gioia disappeared beneath the water, and there was nothing anyone could do. Both men were rushed to a hospital in Port Galib, about 30 miles from the resort. Doctors worked quickly, but Di Gioia's injuries were too severe. He passed away shortly after arriving. Fapani, though badly wounded, survived. His recovery was uncertain at first, given the extent of his injuries. The news of the incident shocked the community. Shark encounters in that area are rare, especially during the winter months. Authorities, including Egypt's Ministry of the Environment and the Red Sea Governorate, launched an investigation. They wanted to understand why the attack had happened, given that the region was usually safe for swimmers. As a precaution, officials temporarily closed off the waters near the attack site. They also reviewed the resort's safety guidelines to determine if additional protective measures were needed. Despite surviving, Fapani was deeply shaken. In a call with his daughter, Christina, he described how he tried to fight off the shark to save his friend, but was unable to. The memory of that moment, he said, would stay with him forever. Di Gioia had been working for the European External Action Service, or EEAS, and was living in France. He had come to Egypt with his wife, son, and several friends for a holiday celebration. But the trip ended in unimaginable loss. Colleagues and loved ones remembered him as a kind and dedicated person whose life was cut short unexpectedly. The Italian embassy in Cairo stepped in to support Di Gioia's family. Meanwhile, discussions about improving safety in tourist areas gained attention. Experts examined whether environmental changes, such as overfishing or increased human activity, could have contributed to the shark's behavior. The tragedy also drew comparisons to a similar incident in June 2023. In a nearby area, 23-year-old Russian tourist Vladimir Popov lost his life in another shark encounter. In that case, too, onlookers could do nothing but watch. The similarities between the two incidents raised concerns about the unpredictability of these encounters in the Red Sea. For Di Gioia's family, the loss was unbearable. What was meant to be a joyful celebration turned into heartbreak. His wife and son, still in shock, received care from their tour operator and embassy officials. As investigations continued, experts debated whether stronger safety measures could prevent future attacks. Could this tragedy have been avoided? Was it due to environmental changes, human activity, or simply an unfortunate encounter with nature? These are difficult questions, but one thing is certain. The sudden loss of Gianluca Di Gioia left a deep impact on his loved ones and the community. 8th, 2024, 15-year-old Jenna Chan lost her life during a school trip to the Maldives. She was part of a week-long educational excursion with classmates from St. Joseph's International Institution, a private school in Singapore. Their goal was to assist the Maldives Whale Shark Research Program, a unique opportunity to learn about marine life. But what was supposed to be an unforgettable experience ended in tragedy. Jenna, a British-Singaporean dual citizen, was known for her kindness and warmth. She was the heart of her family, described by her parents, Alan Chan and Jennifer Liao, as their sunshine. She had a close bond with her older sister, Alice, and dreamed of becoming a geriatrician. Her love for marine life made this trip particularly exciting for her. On the day of the accident, Jenna and her classmates went snorkeling in a popular area between the Lux Maldives Resort and Didu in South Ari Atoll. Shortly after entering the water, something went wrong. The boat's engine was started, and as it reversed, the propeller struck Jenna. Witnesses described the scene as horrific. Jenna was pulled under, suffering severe injuries. Despite immediate rescue efforts, it was too late. She was rushed to a nearby health center, but there was nothing doctors could do. Her classmates, who had seen the entire event unfold, were left in shock. Jenna's family was devastated by the loss, but their pain was made worse by unanswered questions about what really happened that day. According to her parents, there has been little transparency regarding the incident. One of their biggest concerns is the lack of a formal investigation. Maldivian authorities did not conduct a post-mortem examination, and there are no official witness statements from the teachers or students present. This lack of information has left the family feeling as though no real effort has been made to find the truth. Another source of frustration was the school's strict no-phone policy during the trip. This meant Jenna's parents had no way to communicate with her, and they deeply regretted not being able to say goodbye. The policy also prevented them from learning about the accident until much later. Jenna's parents believed that multiple safety failures contributed to their daughter's death. Reports suggest the boat's engine was started while students were still in the water, a dangerous oversight that led to the fatal accident. The family questions whether better precautions could have saved her life. Jenna's older sister, Alice, has taken an active role in seeking justice for her. She launched a GoFundMe campaign to help cover legal costs as the family pushes for a full investigation. The fundraiser has gained widespread support, raising nearly £5,000 of its £10,000 goal. The money is being used to hire Maldivian lawyers to pursue legal action. In her message on the GoFundMe page, Alice expressed her family's shock and frustration, stating that the circumstances of Jenna's passing and the lack of accountability have been deeply troubling. She hopes their fight will not only bring justice for Jenna, but also prevent similar tragedies from happening in the future. Despite their efforts, Jenna's family has received little communication from Maldivian authorities. The companies and organizations involved have remained largely silent, adding to their distress. The lack of answers has left them struggling to come to terms with their loss. On November 15, 2024, Jenna was laid to rest in Singapore. Her family and friends gathered to say their final goodbyes, heartbroken by her sudden passing. But their grief is mixed with a sense of injustice. They still don't know the full truth about what happened to their daughter. Jenna's passing raises important concerns about safety measures during excursions like this one. Why was the boat's engine started while students were still in the water? Were proper safety protocols followed? Could Jenna have been saved if the situation had been handled differently? The family also questions the Maldivian authorities' lack of action. Could a proper investigation have revealed more about what really happened? Would stronger oversight have held the responsible parties accountable? For now, Jenna's family continues to fight for answers. They refuse to let her memory fade without justice. While they mourn their loss, they also hope their efforts will lead to change, preventing another family from experiencing the same heartbreak. The investigation remains ongoing, and for the Chan family, the wait for the truth continues. It was September 19, 2019, in Tanzania, where 40-year-old Stephen Weber Jr. from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, was on a vacation with his girlfriend, Kenesha Antoine. The couple was staying at the luxurious Manta Resort, located off the coast of Pemba Island. Their underwater cabin, costing $1,700 a night, offered stunning views of the ocean's marine life, making the trip an unforgettable experience. This wasn't just an ordinary getaway, it was meant to mark a special milestone in their 2-year relationship. Stephen, known for his adventurous and romantic spirit, planned a unique proposal. He wanted to surprise Kenesha with an underwater gesture of love. Equipped with a handwritten note sealed in a Ziploc bag and an engagement ring, he prepared to make the moment perfect. In the note, he said that he couldn't hold his breath long enough to express everything he loved about her, but that everything he loved about her grew more each day. On the other side of the note, he asked Kenesha if she would marry him. Inside the cabin, Kenesha eagerly awaited Stephen's arrival. She filmed the moment as he swam toward the cabin's window, laughing with joy and anticipation. Stephen held up the note, then flipped it to reveal his proposal, before pulling out the engagement ring. Moments later, he swam out of view, presumably to return to the surface. That was the last time Kenesha saw him alive. After some time passed, Kenesha realized something was wrong. Stephen hadn't resurfaced. Panicked, she tried to contact the resort staff, but there was no response via phone or radio. She flagged down passing boaters, who quickly arrived to help. Stephen's body was eventually brought to the surface, and he still had a faint pulse. Despite efforts to revive him through cardiopulmonary resuscitation, he didn't survive. Kenesha later shared her heartbreak on Facebook, conveying her grief and shock over the loss of Steven Weber Jr. In her post, she described him as a beautiful soul and revealed that he never got to hear her answer, a resounding yes to his proposal. She also recounted their final days together, reflecting on how Steven had expressed gratitude for the incredible, once-in-a-lifetime trip they had experienced. The tragedy left everyone shocked and bewildered. Steven, an experienced swimmer with previous snorkeling experience, left his family struggling to understand how such an accident could have occurred. His sister, Mandy Hoffman, expressed doubts, wondering if there was more to the story and questioning whether other factors contributed to the incident. The Manta Resort released a statement confirming that Steven tragically drowned while freediving alone outside the cabin. Weather and water conditions were reportedly calm, and the depth around the cabin was about 10 meters or 32 feet. The resort extended its condolences to Steven's loved ones, describing the incident as a tragic accident. However, questions lingered. Why didn't Steven, a strong swimmer, make it back to the surface? Could there have been an undetected issue? The resort's chief executive officer conveyed the staff's deep sorrow over the incident. Meanwhile, Steven's friends and family reflected on his ability to bring joy to everyone he encountered. They remembered him as a genuine and loyal friend and found some solace in knowing his final moments were spent with someone he deeply loved. In the aftermath, Kenesha's tribute to Steven garnered widespread attention online. She reflected on their deep, once-in-a-lifetime connection and the tragic turn of events that transformed what should have been their happiest day into their most devastating one. A GoFundMe page was created to help Steven's family cover the costs of bringing his body back to the United States and for funeral expenses, raising over $17,000. The United States Department of State offered its condolences and assisted the family as they sought answers about what happened that day. To this day, the exact cause of Steven's drowning remains unclear. His family is left with lingering questions. Was there an unforeseen issue, or was it a tragic accident? Could anything have been done to prevent it? Steven's passing is a painful reminder to his loved ones of the fragility of life. Kenesha mourns the loss of the man she was about to marry while holding on to the memories of their shared joy. Though Steven's life ended far too soon, his family and friends remember him as a loving and vibrant soul who left a mark on everyone he met. November 27, 2022, in San Andres, Colombia. Natalia Andrea Laranaga Fajardo, a 26-year-old from Cali, Colombia, was on a vacation she had eagerly anticipated. Known for her love of the water, she had come to enjoy the serene beaches and warm sun of this Caribbean island with her friends. That day, Natalia was in high spirits as she relaxed on Whitewater Beach, one of the island's most popular spots. In the afternoon, she and her friends spent time on a boat, soaking in the tranquil atmosphere. The day seemed perfect: calm waters, sunny skies, and joyful laughter. However, the events that followed would change everything. As the boat docked at the beach, Natalia realized her flip-flops had been left behind in the water. Without hesitation, she jumped back in to retrieve them, a simple act most wouldn't think twice about. Unfortunately, this decision would lead to an unimaginable tragedy. Unbeknownst to Natalia, a nearby boat carrying 24 tourists and 2 crew members was approaching. Its propeller was still running as Natalia swam toward her flip-flops. Tragically, she found herself caught in its path. The propeller struck her with devastating force. The scene was horrifying. Witnesses nearby watched in shock as the water turned red. Natalia sustained severe injuries to her legs, lower back, and hips. Amid the panic, she was pulled from the water and rushed to a nearby jet ski to get her to the hospital as quickly as possible. At 5:30 p.m., Natalia arrived at the State Social Enterprise Department Hospital of San Andres. Doctors immediately began working to save her, performing multiple blood transfusions and emergency surgeries. Despite their best efforts, the extent of her injuries made her survival uncertain. Natalia suffered cardiac arrest, but medics were able to revive her and placed her in the intensive care unit. Sadly, by the early hours of November 28th, her heart stopped again, and this time she could not be revived. Natalia passed away at just 26 years old. Following the incident, Colombian maritime authorities immobilized the boat involved. The two crew members were placed under investigation, a standard procedure after such events. Officials issued reminders about the importance of staying clear of moving boats and communicating with crew members when entering the water to prevent future accidents. A video of the accident surfaced online, showing the chaos and distress as the tragedy unfolded. The footage quickly went viral, sparking widespread shock and discussions about boating safety. Many were struck by how a simple action, jumping into the water for flip-flops, had such catastrophic consequences. This incident wasn't an isolated one. Just months earlier, a similar tragedy occurred in the Florida Keys. Juan Carlos Escote Alvarez, a 31-year-old Spanish-Venezuelan banker, jumped into the water to rescue his fiancée, who had fallen overboard during a fishing competition. While his fiancée survived, Juan Carlos was struck by the boat's propeller and did not survive. These heartbreaking events revealed the often overlooked dangers of boating and water activities. In response, authorities and safety organizations began emphasizing stricter safety guidelines, urging swimmers to stay away from active boats and raising awareness about the risks of boat propellers. These incidents underscored the need for greater caution and education to prevent similar tragedies. Natalia's death was deeply mourned by those who knew her. Photos shared on social media showed her enjoying a drink at the beach just hours before the accident. Her story tells us how quickly things can go wrong in the water. The investigation into Natalia's case continued, with the boat taken out of service and the crew members facing legal scrutiny. However, for many, the lingering questions remained. What if she hadn't jumped into the water? What if someone had noticed the approaching boat in time? While Natalia's story is heartbreaking, it also raises awareness about water safety and the importance of vigilance in crowded boating areas. Her untimely passing reminds us of the need to cherish life and prioritize safety in all our adventures. It was July 25, 2019, when tragedy struck a promising young life in the skies above Madagascar. Alana Cutland, a 19-year-old Cambridge University student, died after falling from a small plane into the dense jungle below. Alana had traveled to Madagascar for a solo research trip, aiming to study a rare species of crustaceans. What was meant to be an enriching academic journey ended in heartbreak. Alana was a second-year natural sciences student known for her intelligence, kindness, and adventurous spirit. From Milton Keynes, England, she was deeply passionate about nature and had a love for exploration. Her family and friends described her as bright, independent, and always eager to take on new challenges. The Madagascar trip was a testament to her determination, as she funded the research opportunity to pursue her interests. Her family admired her enthusiasm, describing how she embraced every opportunity with excitement and courage in a statement after her death. Alana's love for animals and science led her to a remote lodge in Anjajavi, where she planned to conduct a 6-week study. However, the trip took a troubling turn after just 8 days. During her stay, Alana began experiencing severe mental and physical symptoms. Reports suggested she became increasingly paranoid and disoriented, possibly due to the side effects of an anti-malaria medication she had been prescribed. Her family, deeply worried after several incoherent phone calls, urged her to return to England early. Alana's parents arranged for a private plane to fly her from Anjajavi to the capital, Antananarivo, where she would catch a flight back home. Accompanying her on the plane was Ruth Johnson, a family friend, and the pilot, Mahefa Tahina Rantoanina. On the morning of July 25th, the small Cessna aircraft departed carrying the 3 passengers. Shortly into the flight, the situation escalated. Alana, visibly unwell, unbuckled her seatbelt and attempted to open the plane's door. Both Ruth and the pilot struggled to restrain her. Despite their efforts, Alana broke free and fell from the plane at an altitude of 3,700 feet. The dense jungle below made immediate recovery efforts nearly impossible. Authorities launched an extensive search for Alana's body, fearing it might never be found due to the wildlife and challenging terrain in the area. Days later, a local tribe discovered her remains, bringing some closure to her grieving family. They expressed their heartbreak in a statement, calling her a bright and independent young woman, deeply loved by those who knew her. Investigations into the incident raised questions about the potential side effects of her medication. Doxycycline, the prescribed anti-malaria drug, is known to cause psychological side effects in rare cases. Her family believed the medication triggered a severe reaction, which ultimately led to her actions on the flight. Alana's uncle, Lester Riley, explained that Alana was incoherent in her last phone calls, and they believed she suffered a severe reaction to the drugs. The tragic event also showed the psychological strain Alana faced during the trip. Though passionate about her work, the isolation and pressure of the remote environment may have compounded her distress. Her family's efforts to intervene were limited by distance, leaving them reliant on phone calls to support her. The aftermath of Alana's death raised awareness about the potential mental health effects of certain medications, particularly for young travelers. Her family emphasized that her actions were not intentional, but the result of an overwhelming medical condition. Alana's passing left her family and friends devastated. They remembered her as a vibrant and talented individual with a deep love for life and learning. Her death is a reflection of the challenges of mental health and the need for vigilance when managing the side effects of medications. Alana's story, though deeply tragic, underscores the importance of supporting travelers facing unexpected struggles and ensuring their safety. 3rd, 2025, on the Thai island of Yau Yai. Blanca Ojanguren Garcia, a 22-year-old law and international relations student from Spain, was spending time at the Koh Yao Elephant Care Center. She had been studying abroad at Tam Kang University in Taiwan and decided to visit Thailand before completing her degree. This trip was supposed to be a memorable experience, but it ended in tragedy. Blanca was taking part in a popular activity, bathing elephants. Many tourists visit the sanctuary each year for close encounters with these animals in what is considered a safe environment. However, while she was washing one of the elephants, she suddenly became agitated. The animal struck Blanca with its trunk, knocking her to the ground. The impact caused severe injuries. Around 18 other tourists, including Blanca's boyfriend, witnessed the incident. Initially, some reports suggested she had been injured by the elephant's tusks, but later confirmation stated it was the force of the trunk that caused her fatal wounds. Staff immediately called for help and she was rushed to the nearest hospital. But despite doctors' efforts, she did not survive. Following the tragedy, the Koh Yao Elephant Care Center temporarily closed. The facility housed 3 elephants, including the one involved in the incident. Although the sanctuary had a strong reputation for ethical treatment, experts noted that even well-cared-for animals can react unpredictably, especially when exposed to frequent human interaction. Blanca's sudden passing raised concerns about the risks of elephant tourism. While elephants are not typically aggressive, they can become defensive when stressed or overwhelmed. Some specialists believe that repeated exposure to crowds may increase anxiety in these animals, leading to unexpected reactions. Her boyfriend, who was with her during the accident, was devastated. Fortunately, no other visitors were harmed. The sanctuary, known for its controlled interactions with elephants, had been a favorite among tourists. However, this tragic event has brought attention to the potential dangers of getting too close to these powerful creatures. Blanca's family, including her parents and siblings, was heartbroken by the news. The Spanish Ministry of Foreign Affairs confirmed her passing and assisted in bringing her remains back home. Her body was first taken to Phuket before being transported to Spain. The Spanish ambassador to Thailand expressed condolences to her grieving loved ones. Her university, the University of Navarra, also released a statement mourning her loss. Professors and classmates remembered Blanca as a bright, hard-working student with a promising future. The impact of her passing was also felt in her hometown of Valladolid, where the city's mayor publicly expressed his sympathies. Blanca's case was eerily similar to another incident that happened just months earlier. In South Africa, a Spanish tourist named Carlos Luna lost his life when he was caught in the middle of a herd of elephants after stepping out of his vehicle to take photos. The similarities between these events have sparked further discussions about the risks of interacting with wild animals, even in controlled settings. Thailand is home to around 3,500 elephants, many of which live in sanctuaries, national parks, and tourism facilities. The demand for elephant encounters has grown significantly in the past decade, with nearly 2,800 elephants in captivity. While some places focus on ethical treatment, the constant presence of tourists can be stressful for the animals. Elephants are highly intelligent creatures with complex emotions. In the wild, they live in tight-knit family groups and roam vast areas. In captivity, their natural behaviors are often disrupted. Some experts believe excessive human contact can lead to distress, making their reactions unpredictable. Blanca's story is one of many incidents involving elephants and tourists. While rare, these cases highlight the challenge of keeping wild animals in environments where they regularly interact with people. Organizations like World Animal Protection have long spoken against using elephants for entertainment, calling for improved welfare and stricter safety measures in wildlife tourism. Could this tragedy have been prevented? Should sanctuaries enforce stricter regulations to protect both visitors and animals? Would limiting human interaction reduce these risks? These questions remain unanswered as discussions about ethical tourism continue. For now, the Koyao Elephant Care Center remains temporarily closed while authorities investigate. Meanwhile, Blanca's family and friends mourn a young woman who has so much ahead of her. This heartbreaking event serves as an example of the unpredictability of wild animals, even in places designed to keep them safe. Blanca Ohanguren. Garcia will be remembered not only for her academic achievements but also for the ongoing discussions her passing has sparked about wildlife tourism. As travelers continue seeking close encounters with these majestic creatures, the world must decide how to balance human experiences with the well-being of the animals they admire. The evening of May 2024 in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. Alma Bohadana, a 22-year-old from Kibbutz Yassur in Israel, had been traveling through Brazil for months. She spent 3 months in Salvador before moving to Rio just 10 days earlier. That night, while exploring the Santa Teresa neighborhood with her travel companion Dan Hen, tragedy struck. Earlier that day, Alma and Dan had visited the famous Christ the Redeemer statue, one of Rio's top attractions. They were walking back when a red car suddenly pulled up beside them. One of the passengers got out and demanded Alma's belongings. Panicked, she tried to step back, but in the confusion she stumbled over a low barrier. Before she could regain her balance, Alma fell 15 meters or 49 feet into a wooded area below. The people in the car quickly drove off, leaving Dan behind. In shock, he ran down a nearby staircase, desperately trying to find her. However, the area was dark and covered in dense vegetation, making the search difficult. When he finally reached her, Alma was still alive but in agonizing pain. She cried out for help, but her injuries were severe. Emergency responders arrived soon after, but there was nothing they could do. Alma had suffered multiple fractures, and she passed away at the scene. Alma was known for her warm and outgoing personality. She loved meeting new people and immersing herself in different cultures. During her time in Salvador, she became a familiar face at a local hostel, where she quickly bonded with staff and fellow travelers. She even learned to samba and painted a colorful mandala on a hostel wall, something that remains as a lasting reminder of her presence. Her sudden passing deeply affected those who knew her. The hostel staff in Salvador remembered her as a kind and vibrant person, always smiling and eager to share stories. They recalled how she was constantly singing, laughing, and spreading joy to everyone around her, leaving a lasting impression on those she met. As for Dan Hen, his account of what happened that night raised some questions. At first, he told police they had been confronted by a motorcyclist. Later, he said it was a car. In a third statement, he explained that he and Alma had met at a hostel in Copacabana. His changing versions of events caught investigators' attention, leading them to take a closer look at what happened. Brazilian authorities have launched an investigation into Alma's death, with detectives reviewing surveillance footage and interviewing witnesses. The Capital Homicide Police Station in Rio is leading the case to determine if a robbery threat caused Alma's fatal fall. While the investigation continues, one thing remains certain. Alma was a young woman full of life and adventure. She had come to Brazil to explore, learn, and experience new things. But in one tragic moment, everything changed. Could the outcome have been different if things had played out another way? If the car had never appeared? If Dan had found her sooner in the dark? These are questions that may never have clear answers. For now, those who knew and loved Alma remember her not just for how she died, but for how she lived. A free-spirited traveler whose kindness and energy left a mark on those she met.